I didn't realize my in-laws were counting. Not my sacrifices. Not my loyalty. But the number of sons I gave birth to. They smiled at first. They congratulated me at the beginning. But slowly, quietly, they began to turn against me. And by the time they finally spoke openly, they made a demand that changed my marriage forever. My name is Mary. I married my husband, Johnson, believing I had found a safe place. A man who loved me, respected me, and saw marriage as partnership. His family welcomed me warmly. His mother called me daughter. His sisters treated me like a friend. His relatives praised my humility. At that time, I thought I was lucky. I didn't know their kindness had conditions. My marriage started peacefully. Johnson and I built our home with laughter and understanding. When I became pregnant for the first time, the entire family celebrated. Everyone prayed for a safe delivery. When my first son was born, there was joy. But something felt off. The congratulations were directed more at my husband than at me. They said, "Johnson has a son. The family name will continue." I told myself it meant nothing. When I got pregnant again, the excitement felt reduced. When my second son was born, the celebration was quieter. One of my sisters-in-law laughed and said, "Wow, another one." I smiled, pretending not to notice the pause that followed. Later, I overheard someone whisper, "Still no balance." That word stayed with me. Balance. As time passed, I noticed changes. Family visits became uncomfortable. Conversations stopped when I entered the room. When relatives visited, they asked, my husband about work, my sons about school. No one asked how I was. I felt invisible. When I announced my third pregnancy, the room fell silent. No excitement. No prayers. Just polite nods. When the nurse announced it was another son, my husband smiled. But his family, their faces tightened. That was the moment I knew something was wrong. No one accused me directly, but I felt the blame. I heard statements like, "Some women are just like that. In our family, things are usually balanced. Johnson deserves more." More. As if my children were not enough. As if I was incomplete. When I told Johnson how I felt, he reassured me. He said, "Ignore them. You've done nothing wrong." For a while he defended me, but family pressure doesn't shout. It whispers, it repeats, it destroys slowly. At a family gathering, someone joked, "Johnson, don't you want a daughter to help your wife?" Everyone laughed. I forced a smile, but inside me, something broke. That joke was not a joke. It was a warning. Soon, family decisions were made without me. Discussions happened behind closed doors. Advice turned into instructions. I felt like I was slowly being pushed out of my own marriage. What I didn't know was that while I was trying to keep peace, my in-laws were already holding meetings. It started with an invitation that didn't include me. One evening, my husband came home quiet. He said his family had called for a small discussion. I asked, "About what?" He hesitated. "Just family matters," he said. That was the first time Johnson attending a family meeting without me. Something felt wrong. That night, I couldn't sleep. Not because I didn't trust my husband, but because I had learned to read his silence. Family matters never happened without me before. Yet suddenly I was excluded. 2 days later, relatives came visiting unexpectedly. I was in the kitchen when I heard my name. Low voices. Serious tones. I moved closer quietly. That was when I heard my mother-in-law say, "We cannot pretend anymore." My heart started racing. Another voice replied, "Johnson is still young." Then another, "This situation is not balanced." Balanced. That word again. They weren't talking about love. They weren't talking about peace. They were talking about outcomes. Then I heard the words that cut me deeply. Mary is a good woman. But this is her limitation. Limitation. As if I were a machine that failed to deliver a desired product. I held my breath. Then the voice that hurt the most spoke. My mother-in-law. The same woman who once held my hands and called me daughter. She said calmly, "We need to think of Johnson's future, not our future." Johnson's. Johnson spoke up. He said, "My wife has done nothing wrong." There was a pause. Then someone replied, "We are not blaming her. We are being realistic." That sentence terrified me more than open hatred. They began listing things: family expectations, tradition, name continuation, balance. They spoke as if I wasn't human, as if my feelings were irrelevant. That night, I confronted my husband. I told him what I heard. He went silent. That silence confirmed everything. He finally said, "They are worried," I asked. "About what exactly?" He didn't answer immediately. After a long pause, he said quietly, "They think there might be another solution." Another solution? I asked, "What kind of solution?" He looked at the floor. And that's when I knew. Whatever they were planning, it was not small. I was heartbroken. Then, I asked him, "Do you agree with them?" He didn't say yes. Neither did he say no. That hesitation broke something inside me. Then came the day of the meeting. The meeting happened on a Sunday evening. I remember the silence in the house before we left. My children were playing, laughing, unaware that their existence was the reason adults were gathering to decide my fate. I kissed them before we stepped out. I didn't know that when I returned, I would no longer feel safe in my own marriage. The living room was full. Relatives sat neatly, as if this was a planned event, not a discussion about a human being. No one offered me a seat at first. I stood there awkwardly, until my husband pulled a chair for me. That small gesture almost made me cry. My mother-in-law didn't waste time. She cleared her throat and said, "We have all been patient." Patient. As if I was a delay. As if my body owed them results. She continued calmly, "No one is blaming you. That sentence always comes before blame." Then she said it, slowly, carefully, as if it were reasonable. Johnson should consider taking another wife. Just to balance things. The room went quiet. My ears rang. My chest tightened. Another wife. To fix me. My hands started shaking. I felt heat rush to my face. I wanted to speak, but no words came out. I looked around the room, hoping someone would object. No one did. Silence was their agreement. They spoke like planners, not people. They said, "It's not personal. This happens everywhere. You'll still be respected." Respected, while being replaced. I turned to Johnson. My eyes searched his face for anger, for resistance, for defense. Instead, I saw confusion, conflict, fear of disappointing his family. That look hurt more than the words. My voice came out weak, and I asked him, "Did you agree to this?" The room went silent again. Johnson said softly, "I haven't decided." That sentence shattered me, because love should never hesitate at humiliation. Tears rolled down my face. Not dramatic, not loud, just quiet tears of realization. I understood then that my pain was an inconvenience to them. My mother-in-law looked at me and said, "You should think about the children," as if their existence justified my erasure. I stood up slowly. No one stopped me. No one apologized. As I walked out, I felt like I was leaving something behind. Not the house, but my dignity. That night, I didn't sleep. I watched my children breathe. I wondered how love could turn into negotiation. How marriage became a transaction. The next morning, my husband told me something I wasn't prepared to hear. He said his family wanted an answer, and the choice they gave me was no choice at all. Morning came, but I hadn't slept. I had spent the night staring at the ceiling, listening to my husband breathe beside me. That sound used to comfort me. Now it reminded me that I might soon be alone. When he finally woke up, he didn't say good morning. He said, "My family wants an answer." We sat at the dining table. No children around. No witnesses. Just us. He said it carefully, like he didn't want to hurt me. They think it's best if I take another wife. And you remain the first. Remain. Like a title. Like an object that could be rearranged. He rushed to explain. He said, "Nothing will change. You'll still be respected. This is just to keep peace. Peace. At the cost of my dignity." I asked him quietly, "Is this what you want?" He looked away. That answer was louder than words. I told him, "I didn't marry your family. I married you." My voice cracked. I asked, "When did my worth become negotiable?" He had no answer. That same evening, my mother-in-law called. She didn't ask how I was. She said, "We don't want problems. Accept this and stay peaceful. Stay peaceful." As if peace required my silence. Think about your children. Do you want them to grow up without their father? That sentence broke me. They were using my love for my children as a weapon. After the call, I locked myself in the bathroom. I cried quietly so my children wouldn't hear. I looked at my reflection. For the first time, I didn't recognize the woman staring back. She looked tired, small, afraid. But then something happened. I remembered the girl I used to be, the woman who dreamed, the woman who loved deeply but also respected herself. I asked myself one question. If I accept this, what will be left of me? I realized this wasn't about children, or tradition, or balance. It was about control. And once I allowed myself to be reduced, there would be no end. That night, I looked at my husband and said calmly, "I need time." He looked relieved, but what he didn't know was that my silence was no longer surrender. It was preparation. As I lay beside my children that night, something inside me settled. I didn't know how yet, but I knew one thing. I would not disappear quietly. I sued for a divorce. Johnson hesitated to sign, but this mother forced him. I left with my sons, away from their sight. A year later, Johnson came looking for my sons. Should I allow him to see them? No, not yet. My boys are doing good, and I'm happy I left. I preferred my dignity,